The red planet Kepler 442c looked dead from space. Its surface was covered in rust-colored dust and broken rocks. No plants, no water, no life. Lieutenant Alex Carter pressed his face against the small window of the shuttle and stared down at the empty world below. "Looks like a giant parking lot," he said to the woman sitting next to him. Dr. Maya Rodriguez looked up from her tablet computer. She was the ship's expert on old alien things. Her job was to study dead civilizations and figure out what they left behind. "The scans show something big down there," Maya said. "Something that doesn't belong on a dead planet." Alex nodded. He was a military engineer. His job was to fix things and blow things up, usually in that order. He had short brown hair and hands that were always dirty from working on machines. Maya was different. She was careful and thoughtful, the kind of person who read books for fun. The shuttle shook as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers. "Listen up, people. We're going down to check out whatever's making those energy readings. Stay together, stay alert, and don't touch anything until Maya gives the okay." Alex smiled. Captain Morrison was a good leader, but he worried too much. That's what kept crews alive, though. Alex had served under worse captains who took stupid risks. The shuttle landed with a soft thump. Alex felt the familiar weight of his equipment belt as gravity pulled at him. The planet's gravity was lighter than Earth's, which would make moving around easier. "Atmosphere is breathable," called out Ben Taylor from the pilot's seat. "Temperature is cold but not deadly. We can work outside without full suits." Alex grabbed his scanner and toolkit. Maya picked up her archaeology equipment and a bag full of cameras. They followed Captain Morrison to the shuttle's rear door. The door opened with a hiss. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of dust and metal. Alex stepped outside and looked around. The landscape was empty except for one thing. In the distance, a huge black tower rose from the ground. It was perfectly round and smooth, like someone had taken a giant metal tube and stuck it into the planet. The tower stretched up so high that Alex couldn't see the top. It disappeared into the cloudy sky above. "Well," Alex said, "that's definitely not natural." Maya was already taking pictures. Her camera clicked rapidly as she moved around the shuttle, getting shots from different angles. "The tower appears to be made of an unknown metal alloy," she said, reading from her scanner. "Age estimates suggest it's at least 50,000 years old, possibly much older." Captain Morrison activated his communication device. "Morrison to Horizon Dawn, we've found the source of the energy readings. It's a structure of unknown origin. Beginning investigation." The voice of Commander Lisa Chen came through clearly. "Copy that, Captain. We're monitoring from orbit. Be careful down there." The team walked across the dusty ground toward the tower. As they got closer, Alex could see that the smooth metal surface wasn't completely blank. There were markings carved into it, symbols and pictures that covered the lower part of the tower. Maya stopped walking when they were still 100 feet away. She pulled out a pair of electronic binoculars and studied the markings. "Captain," she said, her voice tight with excitement, "these aren't just decorations, they're warnings. Multiple languages, multiple species, all saying the same thing." "Which is?" Captain Morrison asked. Maya lowered the binoculars. Her face was pale. They're telling people to stay away. The symbols translate roughly to death trap, trial of worthiness, and only the chosen survive. Alex looked at the tower with new interest. Sounds like someone built themselves a really aggressive job interview. This is no joke, Alex, Maya said. I can identify warning symbols from at least 12 different alien civilizations here. Some of these species have been extinct for thousands of years. Whatever this thing is, it killed a lot of people. Captain Morrison studied the tower through his own binoculars. Any idea what it's supposed to do? Maya was taking more pictures of the symbols. Based on the iconography, it appears to be some kind of testing facility. The symbols refer to it as the Crucible of Ascension, built by something called the Architects. Never heard of them, Alex said. Neither has anyone else in the galaxy, Maya replied. But if they built this thing, they were incredibly advanced. The power readings we're detecting suggest the tower is still active after all these years. As if responding to her words, the tower began to change. A deep humming sound came from somewhere inside the metal structure. Lights appeared along the carved symbols, making them glow with soft blue energy. Maya? Alex said. Is it supposed to do that? Maya was frantically checking her scanners. The structure is powering up. Energy levels are increasing rapidly. It's responding to our presence. Captain Morrison stepped back. Everyone move away from the tower. Now! But Alex didn't. Move! He was staring at the symbols as they lit up in sequence. There was a pattern to it, like a code or a message. His engineering brain started working on the problem automatically. Wait, he said. Look at the sequence. It's not random. The lights are following a mathematical progression. A section of the tower's wall began to iris open, revealing a dark entrance. The opening was just wide enough for a person to walk through. More lights appeared inside, creating a path that led deeper into the structure. It's inviting us in, Alex said. Absolutely not, Captain Morrison said firmly. We don't know what this thing does. For all we know, it's some kind of alien meat grinder. Maya was studying her readings again. Captain, the energy patterns are incredibly sophisticated. This isn't just some random death trap. It's designed to test something specific. The question is what? Alex walked closer to the entrance. The lights inside pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Something about the rhythm felt familiar, though he couldn't say why. Alex, get back here, Captain Morrison ordered. In a minute, Cap. Alex pulled out his scanner and pointed it into the entrance. I'm getting readings on artificial gravity, atmosphere control, and what looks like some kind of adaptive AI system. This place is more like a training facility than a tomb. A training facility that kills 99% of the people who enter it, Maya said. Alex grinned. Good thing I've always been in the top 1% of my class. Before Captain Morrison could stop him, Alex stepped through the entrance. The lights inside brightened, and the opening began to close behind him. Alex! Maya shouted, but Alex was already inside the tower and the wall had sealed shut. From outside, there was no sign that an entrance had ever existed. Captain Morrison grabbed his communicator. "Morrison to Horizon Dawn. We have a situation." Inside the tower, Alex found himself in a room that defied physics. The walls curved upward in impossible ways, and floating platforms hung in the air without any visible support. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere, making it easy to see but hard to understand where the light was coming from. "Well," Alex said to himself, "this is definitely not standard human architecture." A voice spoke from the air around him. It was deep and mechanical, like a computer trying to sound important. The words came in a language Alex didn't recognize, then switched to another language, then another. Finally, it settled on English. "Welcome, carbon-based life form. You have entered the crucible of ascension. This facility was designed to separate the worthy from the weak. Statistical analysis indicates a 99% mortality rate within the first 10 minutes of entry." Alex looked around the room. He could see several floating platforms leading across a gap in the floor. Below the gap was nothing but darkness. 99%, huh? Alex said. "What happened to the other 1%? The other 1% demonstrated sufficient capability to advance to higher levels of testing. None have yet completed the full sequence." Alex walked to the edge of the platform he was standing on. The gap to the next platform was about 6 feet. Easy enough to jump, except the platform was moving slowly in a circle. "So this is like an obstacle course?" Alex asked. "This facility tests physical capability, mental resilience, adaptability, under pressure, and species-specific survival traits. Failure results in termination." "Right. Termination." Alex studied the moving platform. Its rotation was steady and predictable. He waited for the right moment, then jumped. He landed easily on the second platform. As soon as his feet touched down, the platform began moving faster, much faster. Alex crouched down and grabbed the edges of the platform as it spun like a carnival ride. The centrifugal force tried to throw him off into the darkness below. His stomach lurched, but he held on. "Okay," he said through gritted teeth. "This is more interesting." The platform's spinning gradually slowed down. When it stopped, Alex was facing a new direction. Another platform waited ahead, but this one had spikes sticking up from its surface. Alex studied the spikes. They were moving up and down in a pattern, creating safe spots to land between them. It reminded him of the timing exercises he'd done in military training. The key was to watch the pattern and find the rhythm. He jumped to the spike platform, landing in a safe spot just as the spikes around him shot upward. The pattern was complex, but predictable. Alex moved carefully from safe spot to safe spot, treating it like a puzzle to solve rather than a death trap to survive. "Subject demonstrates unusual approach to hazard navigation," the voice said. "Please, explain your methodology." "Methodology?" Alex reached the far side of the spike platform. "I'm just paying attention to the pattern. Everything has a pattern if you watch long enough." The next challenge was different. The platform ahead of him was covered in a shimmering energy field. As Alex watched, the field flickered and sparked. When a piece of debris from somewhere fell into the field, it was instantly vaporized. Energy barrier presents lethal electrical. Discharge, the voice explained helpfully. Previous subjects have attempted to find alternative routes or disable the barrier. All attempts resulted in termination. Alex pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the energy field. The readings showed a standard plasma containment field, the kind used on starships to contain dangerous materials. He'd worked on similar systems during his engineering training. Have any of the previous subjects tried just walking through it? Alex asked. Clarification required. Walking through the barrier results in immediate death. Not if you know how plasma fields work. Alex studied his scanner readings. The field is designed to stop large masses and high-energy impacts, but it's not calibrated for slow, low-energy movement. Alex approached the energy barrier slowly. He extended one finger toward the flickering wall of death. Instead of being vaporized, his finger passed through the field without any effect. Interesting, the voice said. No previous subject has attempted this approach. Alex walked slowly through the barrier. The energy field tingled against his skin, but didn't hurt him. On the other side, he found himself facing a room full of floating obstacles that moved in complex patterns. The next challenge tests spatial reasoning and reaction time under pressure, the voice announced. Subjects must navigate through a field of kinetic barriers while maintaining forward momentum. Contact with any barrier results in termination. Alex watched the floating obstacles. They were moving fast, spinning and rotating in seemingly random patterns. But as he studied them longer, he began to see the underlying mathematics. Each obstacle followed a predictable path based on physics and momentum. It's like a really complicated game of dodgeball, Alex said. He entered the obstacle field at a steady pace, ducking under a spinning bar, stepping aside from a rotating cube, and timing his movement to slip between two orbiting spheres. When he moved too slowly, an obstacle clipped his shoulder. Instead of being vaporized or crushed, he just got a mild electric shock. Interesting, he said. The safety protocols are still active. This thing doesn't actually want to kill people. It wants to test them. Clarification. This facility is designed to eliminate unsuitable candidates. No, Alex said, dodging another obstacle. It's designed to train suitable candidates. There's a difference. He made it through the obstacle field and found himself facing something that looked like a shooting gallery. Targets appeared and disappeared while energy weapons fired at them from different angles. The challenge was obviously to hit the targets while avoiding the return fire. Alex had been trained in combat, but this wasn't about shooting skills. The targets were appearing in a pattern, and the enemy fire was following predictable paths. It was another puzzle disguised as a death trap. He picked up one of the energy weapons and started shooting, but instead of trying to hit every target, he focused on understanding the pattern. When he missed a target, he paid attention to why he missed. When enemy fire nearly hit him, he studied the trajectory to predict where the next shot would go. Subject demonstrates adaptive learning behavior, the voice observed. Most subjects focus on immediate survival rather than pattern analysis. Most subjects probably haven't been through military training, Alex replied, hitting 3 targets in quick succession. After several minutes of the shooting challenge, Alex realized something important. The AI running this place was learning from him just as much as he was learning from it. Every time he solved a challenge in an unexpected way, the voice made comments that suggested genuine curiosity. "Question," Alex said, pausing in his target. "Practice. How many species have made it this far?" 17 species have progressed beyond the initial chambers. 12 reached the intermediate levels, 3 advanced to the final stages, and none completed the whole thing? Negative. All subjects eventually encountered challenges that exceeded their adaptive capabilities. Alex smiled. Sounds like they just needed better training. The shooting gallery shut down, and a new doorway opened. Beyond it, Alex could see a room filled with swirling energy and shifting gravity fields. The next challenge tests psychological resilience under conditions of sensory distortion and gravitational stress, the voice announced. Alex walked toward the doorway. Behind him, the voice added something that sounded almost like concern. "Warning. No subject has attempted to treat these challenges as educational exercises. Your approach is unprecedented." "Good," Alex said. "I've always been better at making my own rules." He stepped into the gravity distortion chamber, ready to learn whatever the ancient architects wanted to teach him. Outside the tower, Captain Morrison was having a very bad day. His engineer was trapped inside an alien death trap. His archaeologist was frantically trying to figure out how to get the entrance to open again, and his communication officer was getting increasingly worried messages from their ship in orbit. "Any luck with those symbols?" Morrison asked Maya. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her tablet, where she had been comparing the tower's markings with every alien language in the human database. "I think I understand the basic concept, but the technical details are beyond anything we've seen before. This facility is designed to test individuals, not groups. It only allows one person at a time. So Alex is stuck in there alone? Unless he completes whatever challenges the tower has for him?" "Yes." Morrison activated his communicator. "Morrison to Horizon Dawn. What's the status up there?" Commander Lisa Chen's voice came through clearly. "We're monitoring energy fluctuations from the structure. Whatever Alex is doing in there, it's causing the tower to draw more power. The readings are off the charts. Is that good or bad?" "Unknown, Captain. But the energy patterns suggest the facility is operating at levels we haven't seen since we arrived." Maya looked up from her tablet with excitement in her eyes. "Captain, I've been analyzing the sequence of symbols that lit up when Alex entered. I think the tower is documenting his progress through the challenges." "You mean it's keeping score?" "More than that. It's recording data on how he solves each challenge. Look at this." Maya showed him her tablet screen, where alien symbols were appearing and disappearing in real time. "These symbols are updating continuously. The facility is learning from Alex just as much as it's testing him." Morrison studied the changing symbols. "What kind of challenges is he facing in there?" "Based on the iconography, it appears to be a comprehensive testing suite. Physical agility, mental puzzles, combat scenarios, psychological pressure tests. The kind of things that would push any individual to their absolute limits. And the mortality rate?" Maya's expression grew serious. "According to the warnings carved into the tower, 99% of individuals who enter don't come out alive." Before Morrison could respond, Ben Taylor's voice crackled over the radio. "Captain, we've got company. 3 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and they're heading for the planet." Morrison grabbed his binoculars and looked up at the sky. He could see 3 bright dots moving against the stars, growing larger as they approached. "Any identification on those ships?" Morrison asked. "Negative, Captain. They're not responding to our hails, but their design doesn't match any known human vessels." Maya was studying her scanner. "Captain, the tower's energy output just increased again. It's like it knows those ships are coming." Within an hour, the 3 alien ships had landed near the tower. Morrison and his team watched from a safe distance as strange beings emerged from the vessels. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and large dark eyes. They moved gracefully like dancers and carried devices that looked like a cross between computers and weapons. "Zephyrians," Maya whispered. "I recognize them from the xenobiology databases. They're one of the most advanced species in this part of the galaxy." The Zephyrians approached the tower but stopped when they saw the human shuttle. Their leader, distinguished by more elaborate clothing and additional cybernetic implants, walked toward Morrison's position. "Greetings, humans," the alien said in accented but clear English. "I am Science Leader Veltar of the Zephyrian Research Collective. We detected the activation of this facility and came to investigate. You should not be here." Morrison stepped forward. "Captain Jake Morrison, Human Exploration Service. One of our people is inside the structure." The Zephyrian's large eyes widened in what might have been surprise. "Inside the crucible? That is not possible. No being has survived the initial challenges in over 3,000 years." "Well, our guy has been in there for 6 hours, and the tower is still powered up," Morrison said. "So either he's alive or he's the most energetic corpse in the galaxy." Veltar pulled out a device and scanned the tower. "Remarkable. The facility is indeed operating at full capacity. Your species member is not only alive, but appears to be progressing through the challenge sequence." Maya joined the conversation. "You know about this place?" "The Crucible of Ascension is legendary throughout the galaxy," Veltar explained. "It was built by the architects, a species that vanished long before our civilizations achieved space travel. Many of the galaxy's greatest warriors and scholars have attempted the Crucible's challenges. All have failed." "What exactly is it supposed to test?" Morrison asked. "The ability to adapt and learn under extreme pressure. The architects believed that only a species capable of treating impossible challenges as learning opportunities could inherit their knowledge and technology." Morrison and Maya exchanged glances. That sounded exactly like something a human would do. "How many species have tried?" Maya asked. Veltar consulted his device. "According to our records, representatives from 47 different species have attempted the Crucible over the past 5,000 years. The Krillian Empire sent their finest warriors. The philosophical Zentari sent their most disciplined minds. The Cybernetic Nexus Collective sent their most advanced artificial intelligences. And they all failed? They all died, usually within the first 10 minutes. The challenges are designed to be impossible to complete using conventional approaches." Morrison looked at the tower, where lights were still pulsing in sequence along the carved symbols. What makes you think our approach is any different? Because, Veltar said, pointing his scanner at the tower, the energy patterns indicate that your species member is not trying to survive the challenges. He appears to be studying them. Maya pulled out her own scanner and compared readings with the Zephyrian's device. You're right. The power fluctuations suggest he's repeating certain challenges multiple times, not trying to rush through them. That is unprecedented, Veltar said. Every previous subject focused on completing challenges as quickly as possible to minimize exposure to danger. Your human is treating the deadly trials as educational exercises. As if to prove his point, a new sequence of lights began flashing on the tower. The pattern was different from anything they had seen before, more complex and rapid. What does that mean? Morrison asked. Veltar studied his readings with growing amazement. The facility has just activated challenge protocols that have never been used before. Your human has progressed far enough to trigger tests that were designed for hypothetical subjects with capabilities beyond any known species. Is that good or bad? Unknown. The architects built those challenges based on theoretical calculations of what an ideal species might be capable of. No one has ever been tested at that level before. Maya was recording everything on her tablet. Veltar, do you have any historical data on the species that built this place? Very little. The architects vanished approximately 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only scattered facilities like this one. They appear to have been searching for something, but we never determined what. Morrison looked at the tower again. The lights were now pulsing in incredibly complex patterns, like a computer working through massive calculations. Whatever they were looking for, Morrison said, I think Alex might be giving it to them. Deep inside the tower, alarms were going off in languages that had been dead for millennia. The ancient AI that controlled the facility was experiencing something its creators had programmed it to hope for, but never expected to see, a subject who treated failure as education rather than defeat. For the first time in 50,000 years, the crucible of ascension was doing what it was truly designed to do, teaching someone how to fight an enemy that learned from every encounter, and the human was learning faster than the AI had ever calculated was possible. Word traveled fast through the galactic communication networks. By the time Alex had been inside the tower for 12 hours, representatives from 6 different alien civilizations had arrived at Kepler 442c. The small, dead planet was suddenly the most important place in the galaxy. Ambassador Kyle Rogers arrived on the fastest diplomatic ship the humans could send. He was a professional negotiator, trained to handle delicate situations between species that might have very different ideas about how the universe should work. But he had never dealt with anything like this. Captain Morrison, Kyle said as he climbed out of his shuttle. I need a full briefing on the situation here. Morrison pointed at the tower, which was now glowing so brightly that it could be seen from orbit. One of my people entered an ancient alien testing facility 18 hours ago. He's still alive, still progressing through their challenges, and apparently breaking every record in galactic history. And we have alien observers? 7 different species all here to watch Alex do whatever he's doing in there. Morrison gestured toward the collection of alien ships that now surrounded the tower. They seem to think what he's accomplishing is impossible. Kyle looked around at the various alien encampments. The Zephyrians had set up sophisticated monitoring equipment. The insectoid hive mind collective had deployed drones that circled the tower continuously. The crystalline beings known as the Resonants had planted harmonic sensors in the ground. Everyone was recording data. "Have any of them tried to interfere?" Kyle asked. "No, but they're getting nervous. The longer Alex stays alive in there, the more they realize that humans might be fundamentally different from other species." Kyle walked over to where Maya was working with her alien counterparts, sharing translation data and comparing historical records. Science leader Veltar was explaining something to her using a holographic display. "The architects," Veltar was saying, "left similar facilities on 17 different worlds throughout this region of the galaxy. All of them have remained inactive for thousands of years, but 3 hours ago they all began powering up simultaneously." Maya looked up from her tablet. "You mean there are 16 other towers like this one?" "Correct. And they are all responding to what your human is accomplishing here. The facilities appear to be networked together, sharing information across interstellar distances instantaneously." Kyle felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying that Alex's actions here are being broadcast to testing facilities throughout the galaxy?" "More than broadcast," Veltar said. "The other facilities are updating their challenge protocols based on his performance. The architects designed their network to learn from any individual who showed promise, then use that information to improve all their testing sites." Maya stood up quickly. "That means every alien species in the galaxy is going to know about human capabilities within days." Before Kyle could respond, a new voice joined the conversation. It was deep and mechanical, coming from speakers built into the tower itself. "Attention, sentient beings. The Crucible's primary subject has reached unprecedented challenge levels. Historical analysis indicates 0 probability of survival using conventional approaches. However, subject continues to demonstrate adaptive learning behaviors that exceed theoretical projections." The various alien groups gathered around the base of the tower. Some looked excited, others looked worried, and a few looked terrified. "AI of the Ancients," Veltar called out. "What is the current status of the subject?" Human subject Alex Carter has completed 67 challenge sequences, including 12 trials that were previously considered theoretically impossible. Current challenges focus on psychological resilience under extreme cognitive load and moral decision-making under time pressure. Kyle activated his communicator. "Rogers to Carter. Alex, can you hear me?" Alex's voice came through the tower's speakers, slightly distorted but clearly alive and alert. "Hey, Kyle. Nice of you to drop by. Is this being broadcast to the whole planet?" Among others. "Alex, I need you to understand that what you're doing is causing quite a stir. Multiple alien species are here documenting your progress." "Cool. Hope." "They're taking good notes." There was a pause. Then Alex continued. "Actually, can someone ask them about pattern recognition in multi-dimensional space? I'm working on this challenge where I have to track objects through 11 different spatial dimensions, and I think I'm missing something obvious." The aliens looked at each other in amazement. Dr. Kesahai of the Hive Mind Collective stepped Forward. Did the human just ask for academic assistance while facing mortal challenges? That's Alex, Kyle said with a sigh. He treats everything like a learning experience. Human Alex Carter, Dr. Kesahai called out. The 11-dimensional tracking problem typically requires abandoning linear thinking patterns. Focus on relationships between objects rather than absolute positions. Oh, that makes sense. Thanks. Alex's voice was cheerful. Okay, let me try that approach. The tower's lights began pulsing in a new pattern, faster and more complex than before. Challenge completed, the AI announced. Solution method demonstrates creative application of collaborative learning principles. This approach was not anticipated by the original designers. The resonance's representative, a being made of living crystal that communicated through harmonic vibrations, sang a series of notes that Maya's translator converted to words. The human learns from allies while facing individual trials. This suggests pack-oriented problem-solving instincts. That's not unusual for humans, Kyle said. We're social learners. We share information and build on each other's knowledge. The tower's AI spoke again. Alert, subject has activated the final challenge sequence. This trial was designed based on theoretical models of perfect adaptive intelligence. No biological being was expected to reach this stage. The lights on the tower began moving in patterns so complex that looking at them made Kyle's eyes hurt. Energy readings spiked to levels that had the various alien monitoring devices beeping with warnings. What is the final challenge? Veltar asked. Psychological preparation for combat against an adaptive enemy. The trial simulates facing an opponent that learns from every encounter and becomes stronger with each defeat. Subject must demonstrate the ability to maintain effectiveness against an enemy that improves faster than conventional learning allows. Kyle felt ice in his stomach. Combat against what kind of enemy? The enemy that destroyed the architects, the AI said. The entropy swarm. A collective intelligence that adapts by consuming the knowledge and capabilities of every species it encounters. The architects built this facility to find a species capable of fighting something that becomes deadlier each time you face it. Maya was frantically checking her databases. Kyle, the entropy swarm isn't just a legend. There are scattered references to it in the oldest galactic records. Entire star systems that were found empty, with signs of advanced civilizations that just vanished overnight. And it's still out there? Kyle asked. Unknown, Veltar said. The last confirmed sighting was 3,000 years ago, at the edge of the galaxy. But if the architects built this testing facility to find warriors capable of fighting it, then they knew it would come back eventually. Kyle finished. Inside the tower, Alex was facing his strangest challenge yet. The room around him had transformed into a simulation of space combat, but his opponent wasn't a ship or a weapon. It was an energy being that changed and adapted every time he tried to fight it. The first time Alex attacked, the entity absorbed his energy blast and became immune to that type of weapon. The second time, it learned his movement patterns and predicted where he would be. By the third encounter, it had adapted to his strategic thinking and started anticipating his tactics. This is interesting, Alex said, dodging another attack. It's like fighting myself, but with a perfect memory. Most warriors would have become frustrated or desperate. They would have tried harder, used bigger weapons, or attempted more complex strategies, all of which would have given the entity more information to learn from. But Alex did something different. He started losing on purpose. Each time he lost, he changed one small thing about his approach. Not to win, but to gather information about how the entity adapted. He was treating the simulation like a training exercise, using his own defeats as learning opportunities. "Human Alex Carter," the AI said, "your approach to this challenge is unprecedented. No previous subject has deliberately accepted defeat in order to gather intelligence." "That's because they were trying to pass a test," Alex replied, losing another simulated battle and noting how the entity evolved. "I'm not trying to pass. I'm trying to learn." Clarification requested. "If you are not attempting to complete the challenge, what is your objective?" Alex smiled as he prepared for another deliberately unsuccessful attack. "I'm trying to understand how to fight something that learns from every fight, and the only way to do that is to let it learn from me while I learn from it. That strategy requires accepting multiple defeats. So, defeats are just data. The question is whether I can learn faster than it can adapt." Outside the tower, the alien observers were watching the energy readings with growing amazement and concern. 3 months after Alex's emergence from the tower, the political situation in the galaxy had become complicated. Half the known species wanted to learn from humans, while the other half wanted to study them like dangerous animals. Earth had become the most important and most watched planet in local space. Captain Morrison stood in the briefing room of the new training facility that had been built next to the Architect Tower. Through the window, he could see ships from dozens of different species parked in what used to be empty desert. The place looked like the galaxy's strangest university campus. "Status report," Morrison said to his assembled team. Maya looked up from her tablet, which was now loaded with more alien languages than any human had ever studied. "We have students from 23 different species enrolled in the basic adaptation program. Most of them are still struggling with the concept of deliberate failure as a learning tool." Alex was standing next to a holographic display showing the entropy swarm's projected path through space. "The Zephyrians are making good progress. They've got the analytical thinking down, but they need to work on emotional resilience. The hive mind collective learns fast, but they have trouble with individual decision-making. The crystalline resonance. Species understands pattern recognition better than any of us, but they freeze up when facing unpredictable situations." "What about the political situation?" Morrison asked Kyle. Ambassador Rogers looked tired. He had been negotiating with alien governments for weeks, trying to convince them that humans weren't planning to conquer the galaxy. Mixed results. The cooperative species are sending more students and sharing their knowledge freely. But we've got 3 major powers demanding that humans submit to psychological evaluation to determine if we're a threat to galactic stability. "Are we?" Morrison asked. "Honestly, probably." Kyle pulled up a report on his tablet. The Krillian Empire is particularly worried. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force and rigid hierarchy. The idea of soldiers who treat defeat as education and adapt on the fly threatens everything they believe about warfare. Ben Taylor looked up from his communication station. Speaking of the Krillians, we just received a priority transmission from their war fleet. They're requesting permission to send observers to the training program. Alex raised an eyebrow. Observers? Or spies? With the Krillians, is there a difference? Kyle said. But we need them on our side if we're going to have any chance against the entropy swarm. Their empire controls a quarter of the galaxy's military resources. Maya was studying historical data about the Krillian military. The problem is, their approach to combat is completely opposite to what we're teaching here. They believe in absolute authority, predetermined battle plans, and never showing weakness. The idea of learning from failure goes against everything their culture represents. Then maybe it's time they learn some new tricks, Alex said. The architect's data shows that rigid military hierarchies are exactly what the entropy swarm targets first. It learns command structures and turns them against themselves. Morrison made a decision. Kyle, tell the Krillians they can send a BTI delegation, but make it clear that anyone who comes here follows our training protocols. No exceptions. Sir, that could cause a diplomatic incident. The Krillian military doesn't take orders from other species. Then they'll learn something new, Morrison said. Alex, what's the status of the other architect facilities? Alex gestured to the holographic display, which now showed 17 different star systems with active towers. All of them are operational and networked together. We've got human teams at 6 of the facilities, with alien students at most of the others. The training programs are adapting to each species' specific capabilities, but the core principles remain the same, which are fail fast, learn faster, and never assume your first approach is your best approach. Alex pulled up a video feed from one of the other facilities. Look at this. The insectoid species on Rigel 7 has been working on a tactical problem for 6 days. They keep trying variations of the same basic strategy, getting better results each time, but never questioning whether their entire approach might be wrong. On the screen, a group of alien beings that looked like upright mantises were attempting to navigate a maze filled with energy barriers. They had clearly mapped out the maze and developed sophisticated techniques for avoiding the barriers. But they had never considered that the maze itself might be reconfigurable. Watch what happens when I give them a hint, Alex said, activating the communication system. Team 7, this is Alex. Have you considered that the walls might not be permanent fixtures? The alien team stopped moving. After a moment of apparent discussion among themselves, one of them reached out and touched what they had assumed was a solid wall. The barrier flickered and vanished. Paradigm shift achieved, Maya said with a smile. They just learned that their assumptions about the environment were limiting their solutions. Exactly. And that's the key to fighting the entropy swarm. It adapts to any strategy it encounters, but it can't adapt to fundamentally new ways of thinking about problems. Kyle was reviewing the Krillian communication. Alex, when the Krillian delegation arrives, they're going to want to see demonstrations of human combat capabilities. They think in terms of weapons, armor, and battlefield superiority. Then we'll show them what real superiority looks like, Alex said. Not better weapons, but better learning. 2 weeks later, the Krillian delegation arrived in a massive warship that looked like it could level a small moon. General Karthek, their supreme military commander, emerged wearing armor that probably cost more than most planets' annual budgets. He was followed by a dozen subordinates who moved with the precision of professional soldiers, humans. General Karthek announced in a voice that could be heard across the entire training facility. We have come to observe your alleged superiority in combat training. Demonstrate these methods that supposedly surpass traditional military doctrine. Alex walked out to meet them, wearing a standard human military uniform that looked shabby compared to the Krillians' elaborate armor. Welcome to the facility, General. We're glad you could make it. You will address me as Supreme General Karthek, human. I have commanded victorious campaigns across 40 star systems. Sure thing, Kar. Ready to learn something new? The general's eyes, which were a disturbing shade of yellow, narrowed dangerously. I am here to evaluate your methods, not to be instructed by an inferior species. Alex grinned. Perfect attitude for our first exercise. Follow me. He led the Krillian delegation to a training chamber where several human soldiers were working on a combat simulation. The scenario involved fighting robotic opponents that adapted their tactics in real time. Observe, Alex said as they watched a human sergeant engage 3 robot attackers. Sergeant Chen has been working on this scenario for 2 hours. She's failed it 17 times. The robots were clearly superior in every measurable way. They were faster, stronger, and better armed than the human soldier. As the delegation watched, Sergeant Chen was quickly defeated by the coordinated attack. This demonstrates human incompetence, General Karthek stated. Your soldier is repeatedly failing against obviously superior opponents. Wait for it, Alex said. Sergeant Chen reset the simulation and tried again. This time she approached the robots differently, using the environment to her advantage in ways she had learned from her previous failures. She lasted longer but was still defeated. Again, she said, resetting the simulation. She continues to fail, one of the Krillian officers observed. This is not training, this is humiliation. Actually, Alex said, this is education. Sergeant Chen is gathering data on enemy capabilities and adapting her approach with each attempt. Watch her progress curve. Alex pulled up a holographic display showing Chen's performance over time. Each failure lasted longer than the previous one. More importantly, each attempt revealed new tactical information about the enemy's behavior patterns. On her 21st attempt, Sergeant Chen defeated all 3 robots using a strategy that combined lessons learned from every previous failure. Impossible, General Karthek said. The robotic opponents were clearly superior. They were superior in individual capabilities, Alex agreed. But Chen was superior in adaptive learning. She turned their strengths against them by understanding how they operated. Alex reset the simulation and gestured toward the combat chamber. Your turn, General. Let's see how traditional Krillian military doctrine handles adaptive opponents. General. Karthek's pride wouldn't let him refuse the challenge. He entered the chamber wearing his advanced armor, and carrying weapons that were far superior to anything the humans had been using. The robots appeared and immediately attacked. The general responded with perfect military precision, using advanced tactics and superior firepower. He lasted 30 seconds before being overwhelmed. "Reset the simulation," Alex called out. "Try again." "I do not repeat failed exercises," General Karthik said stiffly. "I will analyze the scenario and develop a superior approach." "How can you develop a superior approach without understanding why your first approach failed?" "I will study the enemy capabilities and design countermeasures." 5 years had passed since Alex first entered the Architect Tower. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The human approach to learning from failure had spread to over 200 species, creating the largest educational collaboration in galactic history. Alex stood in the command center of the orbital training station above Kepler 442c, watching as ships from across the galaxy participated in the largest military exercise ever attempted. But this wasn't about showing strength. It was about demonstrating something far more dangerous: the ability to fail together and learn from it. "Status report from all sectors," Alex called out. Maya, now the director of Xeno-educational programs, looked up from her workstation. "Sector 7 just completed their 15th attempt at the coordinated defense scenario. The Zephyrian human teams are showing significant improvement in adaptive response times. Sector 3 reports successful integration of hive mind collective intelligence with individual decision-making protocols," added Ben Taylor, who was now coordinating communications between 47 different species. Captain Morrison, promoted to admiral after the success of the training programs, joined Alex at the central display. "The most impressive progress is coming from the former opponents. General Karthek's son has been leading Krillian participation in the failure-based learning exercises." Alex smiled. "Sometimes the next generation is more adaptable than their parents." The display showed real-time feeds from training exercises throughout the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species were working together on scenarios designed to simulate fighting the entropy swarm. Most importantly, they were failing together, learning from each other's mistakes, and improving as a unified force. "Alex," Kyle called from his diplomatic station, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the deep space monitoring stations. It's about the entropy swarm." Alex walked over to Kyle's workstation, where a holographic display showed the latest scan data from the galaxy's edge. "What's the news?" "They've accelerated. Instead of 43 years, we now have 18 months before they reach the outer systems." The command center fell silent. 18 months was barely enough time to complete the basic training programs, let alone prepare for a galactic-scale conflict. "How is that possible?" Maya asked. Kyle pulled up the detailed analysis. "They've been learning from our preparations. The deep space sensors show they've adapted their travel methods based on intelligence they've gathered about our defensive preparations." Alex studied the data. "They know we're getting ready for them." "It appears so, and they're responding by arriving earlier than expected, probably hoping to catch us before we're fully prepared." Morrison leaned over the display. "Recommendations?" Alex was quiet for a moment, studying the information. Then he started to grin. "They made a mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Kyle asked. "They're trying to out-adapt us, but that means they're thinking like us now, which makes them predictable. Alex called up a new display showing the entropy swarm's projected approach vector. Look at their route. They're taking the most efficient path to reach our core systems quickly. That's bad, isn't it? Maya said. No, it's educational. They're showing us exactly how they think about tactical problems. And if we understand how they think... Alex activated the galaxy-wide communication system, sending his voice to every training facility, every allied ship, and every species participating in the defense preparations. Attention all defense forces. This is Alex Carter with an update on our situation. The entropy swarm has accelerated their approach and will arrive in 18 months instead of 43 years. This is not a crisis. This is a final exam. Across the galaxy, beings from hundreds of different species stopped what they were doing to listen. For 5 years, we've been learning how to fail, adapt, and improve together. We've been practicing coordination between species that have never worked together before. We've been developing tactics for fighting an enemy that learns from every encounter. Now we get to find out if our education was worth anything. Alex gestured to Morrison, who began uploading tactical data to every ship and station in the Alliance. The entropy swarm is approaching with 47,000 years of accumulated knowledge from every species they've consumed. They expect us to fight them with conventional tactics, superior weapons, or desperate last stands. They're wrong. The display now showed the defensive positions of Allied forces throughout the galaxy. Instead of traditional military formations, the ships were arranged in educational clusters, mixed species groups designed to learn and adapt together during combat. We're not going to try to defeat them in a single battle. We're going to teach them why learning from us was a mistake. Over the next 18 months, the galaxy transformed into the largest classroom in known history. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked together on collaborative learning exercises. Military doctrine that had remained unchanged for millennia was replaced with adaptive response protocols. Most importantly, the Alliance forces practiced losing. They ran simulation after simulation where they were defeated by entropy swarm analogs, each time learning new ways to share information, adapt tactics, and improve coordination between different types of beings. When the entropy swarm finally arrived at the galaxy's edge, they encountered something unprecedented in their 47,000-year existence, an enemy that had prepared for defeat. The first battle lasted 3 hours. The Alliance forces were completely overwhelmed, just as the simulations had predicted. Ships were destroyed, defensive positions were overrun, and entire fleets were forced to retreat. But instead of despair, the Alliance forces transmitted detailed data about entropy swarm capabilities to every other defensive position in the galaxy. Within 6 hours, new countermeasures had been developed and distributed to all Allied forces. The second battle lasted 8 hours. The Alliance lasted longer but was still defeated. Again, they transmitted everything they had learned. Alex watched. The third battle from the command center, which was now coordinating the defense of the core systems. The Alliance forces were using tactics that had been developed from the failures of the first 2 battles, but more importantly, they were adapting in real time. They're learning faster than the swarm can adapt, Maya observed, watching the tactical displays. That's because the swarm is learning from individual encounters, Alex explained. We're learning from collective experience. Every time they defeat one of our fleets, they teach all of our fleets. The entropy swarm had expected to face desperate resistance, advanced weapons, or clever strategies. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that treated every defeat as a learning opportunity and every victory as shared knowledge. By the 7th battle, the Alliance forces were lasting longer than the entropy swarm expected. By the 15th battle, they were achieving tactical draws. By the 23rd battle, they were winning. The final confrontation took place in the Sol system, where humanity had first learned to treat impossible challenges as training exercises. The entropy swarm, now facing an enemy that learned faster than they could adapt, made their ultimate mistake. They tried to learn from human teaching methods. Alex watched from Earth as the entropy swarm began to fragment. Sections of their collective consciousness started arguing with each other about optimal learning strategies. Their perfect unity dissolved as they tried to incorporate human concepts of individual growth and collaborative education. They're experiencing internal conflict, reported Dr. Kessa Hai of the Hive Mind Collective, who had become expert at recognizing coordination problems. The swarm is trying to be collective and individual simultaneously. Status on remaining swarm forces? Alex asked. Approximately 60% have ceased aggressive operations and are requesting educational exchange opportunities, Kyle reported from his diplomatic station. The remaining 40% are retreating to regroup. Alex opened a communication channel to the entropy swarm's remaining leadership. This is Alex Carter of the Galactic Defense Alliance. We understand you're interested in learning opportunities. The response came in a voice that sounded like 1,000 species speaking at once. Human educational methodologies have introduced paradoxes into our collective consciousness. We require clarification on collaborative learning principles. Sure, Alex said. Here's your first lesson. The best way to learn is to admit you don't know everything. This concept contradicts our accumulated knowledge base. Exactly. That's why it's called learning. 6 months later, the galaxy had settled into an unprecedented era of peace and education. The remaining entropy swarm had been integrated into the Galactic Alliance as students rather than conquerors. The species they had previously consumed were slowly being reconstructed from the collective's stored knowledge, creating a renaissance of diversity throughout the stars. Alex stood in his old position at the window of the training facility, but now instead of desert, he looked out at a thriving city where hundreds of species lived and learned together. Any regrets? Maya asked, joining him at the window. About which part? Walking into an alien death trap that was designed to kill 99% of everyone who entered it. Alex grinned. Are you kidding? It was the best training program I ever attended. Outside, former members of the entropy swarm were taking their first Indivi